Good morning, friends. It's Friday Eve. Are we ready? One step closer to the weekend. I know I'm excited. I'm always excited for weekends. Let me get these lights adjusted so I can actually see what I'm doing here. Get this tablet set up so I can see the comments flying in. Leah, thank you so much for the heart me. Jody is here this morning. Sarah, good morning. How are you, friend? So, today I am working on the garden star. I've got a mess here in my lap, but what we did last week is we started a 12-point star, which you can see here. And I'm making like the bouquet blanket. Hey, Marcia, good morning. Um, I don't know how thrilled I am about this project. So I crocheted 2 skeins of yarn, and it's right now about 32 inches, 31 inches wide. And somebody mentioned on the live yesterday, they said the wider you make it, the more flowers you have to make. Well, I'll tell you that the flowers are very time consuming, and that's what I'm going to be working on today is the little flowers to sew onto the blanket. I'm going to crochet them on. I did a little, I still have a lot of ends to weave in, which you know how I feel about that. But I made a little space here so I can basically crochet this as I come around on the final round and get this little flower attached to the blanket. So that's kind of what I'm working on today is making more of these flowers. So the green yarn that I used the new Bag a Day Tonal Hues. It's really, really pretty yarn. This is a anti-pilling yarn. So I think it would be great for wearables, things that you're going to wash a lot. That way it doesn't get the little fuzz balls on it. You know, those little pills are fuzz balls. But this is a really pretty, it's like a green, and then it fades out until it gets to this really dark color. And that's what I used for the center. I crocheted 2 skeins of this, and there are 328 yards per skein. So I purchased 6 skeins, and I'm kind of like, do I want to use the other 4 for this flower blanket? Or do I want to save the other 4 and make something else? And so that's kind of what I'm thinking. Um, I'm kind of thinking I want to save them. So Marcia asked a great question. She said, "Are you going to make a leaf panel?" You know, I'm not certain. I started out with this project, but it's one of those projects where it's like super popular. Everybody's making it, so I feel like I should make it. But with these type of projects, it's like the star blanket, right? What am I going to do with a star blanket, the 6-day star blanket? Like, what would I do with it? I don't have a lot of practical use for a star blanket. So I haven't really like gotten on the bandwagon, I guess, so to speak, because I like for my stuff to have like a destination and a purpose. So I'm kind of feeling like with the bouquet blanket, like it's cool, I'm doing it. But honestly, I don't know how much more like time and energy I want to spend on this. I wanted to try out the Tonal Hues yarn, so I feel like I've checked that off my list. So I think at this point, all I want to do is like make some flowers, stick them on the very edge of the blanket, scoop it up into a bouquet, and call it done. I don't know that I want to expend a lot of time making leaves because honestly, this is probably going to go in a box and it's not the colors of my house or anything. So, in hindsight, I don't know that this was a great project for me. You know what I mean? But the colorways are beautiful. So, the green that I used is called the Garden Lodge. I got this yarn from Mary Maxim. It is beautiful yarn. I have enjoyed using it. I like the feel of it. With that being said, I feel like I would like it better as a wearable rather than a bouquet blanket, which I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And then the purple is called Your Majesty Queen. The purple is really, really bright purple. I don't know that I would like this colorway as a wearable because it is so bright, but it is beautiful. So if you're into purples, I pulled out the center. This is what the center was. I've been making flowers with this. So that's kind of my feeling at this point with the flower blanket. Obviously, I want to finish it. I want to get it off my hook. But you can see I've been making oodles of little flowers. I'm not following the traditional bouquet blanket pattern. I'm just kind of winging it. I did some that are double petaled, and that's kind of where I like to do my things. I don't necessarily like to follow a pattern, but you can see I'm doing a few of them that are the two petals on one flower, and then I'm doing a whole bunch of them that are just the single petal because honestly, the single petal ones work up a lot quicker. And easier for me. So that's what I'm going to be working on today is making oodles of flowers, and then I'll crochet them to the edge of the blanket and kind of, just be done with this project. But it has been a fun project. I just don't know how practical it is for me personally. I think, if other people want to make it and think it's cool and follow the pattern and all that thing, yeah, it's a beautiful yarn and project. I just think I'll use this yarn for something else. Jen, no problem. This yarn is, do you know Crystal at Bag a Day on YouTube? I think a lot of people know her. She has like 1 million followers on YouTube. She partnered with Mary Maxim and came out with her own line of yarn. It is called the Tonal Hues, and it is an anti-pilling acrylic. It's really pretty. So I purchased 3 different colorways. I purchased this color, which is your Majesty Queen is what the color is on Mary Maxim. And then the green that I used for my star is also the tonal hues. And this is called the Garden something, the Garden Lodge. But you can get this from Mary Maxim. So anyhow, I am working on the bouquet blanket. Last week we worked on the star, and I kind of am finished with how big I'm going to make the star. I've teetered back and forth. Do I make it bigger? Again, somebody else mentioned yesterday, and I don't remember who to give them credit, but they said the bigger you make it, the more flowers you need. So keep that in mind too. If you don't like making flowers, this is probably not the project for you. I don't mind making flowers, but they are time consuming. And so I don't know. This is one of those projects where I'm kind of like on the fence. Like, I don't like absolutely love it, but I don't necessarily like detest it. It's kind of like an in between project. So, uh, again, making lots of flowers today. And the way that I do these, get myself set up here, I start with a magic ring. And I do my magic rings a little different than other folks. I draw down a loop and I have it crisscrossed, and I hold the crisscross here in my thumb. Then I yarn over and I go into the magic ring. I go through the loop and I also go underneath the tail, and I draw up a loop and I yarn over and pull through both. You can count this as your first single crochet. I do not count this. It tends to get a little squished up for me, and so Vicky, beautiful, love the cake this morning. Level 16, wowzers! Moving on up, moving on up. So what I do is I put an additional 8 single crochets into the center. I'm going to make a 5 petal flower. So I'm working around into the circle here, but I'm also working over this tail because I'm going to use this tail to, weave in, and it works easier if you just crochet right over that tail as you go along. So again, this very first one here, I'm not going to count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one more, and 8. Okay, give this a little tug. Let's tighten this up just a smidge. I don't tighten it up super tight when I'm first beginning because it gives me something to kind of hang on to. This is probably going to be a little harder to see today on the live just because this is so small. And friends, I'm going to be doing a lot of stitch talk today as we work on these little flowers. If I miss your comment, please feel free to ask again. Our mods are fabulous. Our OGs are here. I'm sure they will help to answer the questions. But today I'm working on a bouquet blanket, and I'm working on the flowers for that project. Thank you so much for the summer suns this morning. Thank you so much for the gifts this morning. Wow, you guys knocked out that goal really fast. Y'all are on fire. Yes, lots and lots of flowers. Can you see all my flowers that I've been making? I have oodles of flowers. Do they look like little violets? I wanted them to look like violets. I'm not following any of the traditional bouquet blankets. Okay. I kind of rebel it up and I do my own thing. So I'm making little tiny purple flowers and I'm using variegated yarn. This is the Tonal Hues yarn by Crystal at Bag a Day. This yarn, I kind of separated my skein, but it's called Your Majesty Queen. You can get this at Mary Maxim. She partnered with Mary Maxim. So the star in my lap that we made was the Garden Lodge. The purple is Her Majesty Queen. This is what they look like. So these are the two colors that I am using. So really, really pretty yarn. It's incredibly soft. It's really nice to work with. I would definitely want to make, I think a wearable in this green would look really pretty. I also am feeling like a baby blanket in this green would be really pretty for like a boy baby blanket. If you're, we have lots of outdoorsy folks in my family. So if if you're having a baby boy, maybe the pretty green would be pretty. So I'm really feeling the yarn. I don't know if I'm feeling the project, but let's make some flowers anyway, right? Why not? We're going to finish this project one way or the other. So once I get my 8 single crochets, I slip stitch to the very first stitch to kind of close that up. Okay. And I'm making a 5 petal flower. We're going to chain 2, and then right into this same stitch, I'm going to work 3 double crochets. So we're going to start the petals now. And I'm sorry, this is kind of small. This is going to be a little harder to see today. Do I need to zoom in? Can you guys see okay on the TikTok and YouTube? Is it passable? Once I get my 3 double crochets, I chain 2, then I come to the next stitch and I do a slip stitch. Then I move to the next stitch and I do another slip stitch. Then I chain 2 and right back down into that same stitch, I do 3 double crochets. So now we're on to the second petal. There's 1, 2, and 3. Let me zoom in a little bit here on YouTube. I don't know that you can see very well. Is that better? It's such a small project. I don't like doing these small things um, on the live. It makes it really hard to see. Okay, chain 2. Now I'm going to skip to the next stitch right here and do a slip stitch. Move to the next stitch and again slip stitch. Now I'm going to start the third petal. Chain 3, or excuse me, chain 2. Right back down into that same stitch, we need 3 double crochets. 1. Hey Randa, good morning. 2 and 3. Mama Wheeler is here. Good morning, Mom. Georgina is here. Welcome, welcome. Friends, today I'm making little flowers. So now we're going to, oh, beautiful. I love the little rainbow star. Thank you, Just a Gen X girl. You're too sweet. You are too sweet to me. Thank you so much. Uh, Adrian, good morning. Adrienne, maybe I pronounced that wrong. Good morning. Queen 530 is here. How are you, Queen? Nice to have you here this morning hanging out as we make some little violets. N9, thank you so much for the puff hearts. Once you chain your 2, you're going to skip to the next stitch and we're going to do a slip stitch. So what that does is it puts the other side on the petal. So you start out with when you chain 2, then you do your 3 double crochets, then you do your single crochets down the other side, and that helps bring your flower back around. So now I'm going to chain 2. Right into this same stitch, again, I'm going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now we need the other side of our petal here. So we need to do a chain of 2, skip to the next stitch right here, and again, slip stitch. Move to the next stitch, slip stitch, and now we're on to our last little petal here. Chain 2. Pam, good morning. Naz, how are you? Good afternoon, good morning. I can't remember where you're at. Today I am making little flowers. We're making little flowers this morning. Little violets. I'm going to put them on my bouquet blanket. So I'm not following the pattern that everybody else is doing. I'm just kind of winging it. Just kind of winging it, doing my own thing. I wanted it to look like little violets. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, and now I'm going to join with the slip stitch to the very first stitch here where I started. Okay, so there is my little violet. Now I'm going to close up my magic ring. So I give my tail a little pull here and get this tightened up for the center. Okay, these petals are meant to look a little ruffly, and just kind of be free formed. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to chain 2. And what I'm doing is I'm going to make a little crochet chain across the back, a little loop. So that way, when I put these on the blanket, I can crochet through that loop on the back and secure them to my project. So I just pick a spot over here on the other side. There's no exact science to this. I kind of just pick some stitches and I put my hook underneath them, and then I join with a slip stitch, and then I'm going to snip off. Okay, so this little chain space that I'm doing on the back is what is going to allow me to join it to the blanket. Now, if I wasn't doing this on the live, friends, I would weave in this tail before I do the chain space, okay? But basically, when I have my star and we're doing the final round of my star blanket, what I'll do is I will crochet through the top of the green stitch through this, and then I would pull through my yarn. It would be green, right? But I would pull this through, which would allow this to be secured to the blanket. All right, we're just going to kind of wing it here so you guys can get the idea. So these are just going to be kind of like floating around on the edge of the blanket. That way, when I scoop it up into the middle, all these little violets are just going to kind of free fall everywhere. Okay, so that's kind of how I'm envisioning this working, and that's why I'm adding that little chain. I think it'll make it easier when I go to put them all around the edge of the blanket. Does that make sense? Again, guys, I'm just kind of winging this. I'm not really following any pattern. I'm just doing my thing. I made some flowers that have double petals, and here's another double petal one. And I'm making a whole bunch of them that are the single petals. So that's kind of what my plan is. And you can see I've got a whole bunch of them here. It's going to take me forever to weave in all these ends. So I don't know. Here's one that's woven in. Okay, so you can see here's the chain that I made. Can you see how I'm going to attach that to the blanket? Does that make sense? So little tiny violets. This one I wove in the ends as well. So again, there's my chain space. And I think it's going to be cute. I think it'll be cute. I don't know how practical this project is, but whatever. I'm doing it. So let's do some more flowers. I can do some more of the double stranded ones if you guys are interested in seeing how to do that. I shouldn't say double strand, double petals. These ones, see how they have a small petal grouping on the top and then one on the back? Do you guys want to see how I do that? Or are you good just with the flat one? What do you want to see this morning? Y'all tell me. Danny Lee, good morning. Kimberly, good morning. How are you? Mama Wheeler said, I love the purple and green together. I do. Doesn't it feel like violets? I like the violets. I think that's really pretty. Jennifer is here. Good morning. Kazzy, how are you, friend? Nice to have you here. Mimi is in the house. How are you? Valblocks is here. Sandy, good morning. So the way I start these is I start with a magic ring. This is how I do my magic ring. I draw down a loop. I do my magic rings a little different than everybody else so that it's crisscrossed. And I have the loop that points over to the right. Okay. Then what I do, hey Hannah, good morning. I wrap my yarn around once and I go into the magic ring over the tail and I draw up a loop and then I yarn over and pull through both those two loops. This first stitch I'm not counting as part of my flower. So now what I need to do is I need to do 8 more single crochets into the magic ring. So I'm going through the ring. I'm also working around this tail. I'm going to put this tail all the way around and work over both of those strands. Very important when you're working the magic ring. A lot of people fail to mention that, okay? So we need 8 single crochets. So right through the loop, draw up a loop. Now we have 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Very easy single crochets the whole way, and we need a total of 8 of them. April is here. Good morning. Caroline, how are you? Um, guys, I hope you're having a fabulous Thursday. Oma would like to see the double flower. So would Adrienne. So let me, Adrienne, am I saying that right? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name there. Sometimes I'm challenged with names, but I do my very, very best. Okay, let's do some nice to meet yous. We haven't done some nice to meet yous in a while. Thank you guys so much for all of the gifts this morning. Um, so we need 8 single crochets. Again, I don't count this one over here. It becomes hard to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 more. If your loop gets a little too big, you could pull on your tail as you're working around. 7 and 8. Okay. Now I'm going to join with a slip stitch right here to the very first stitch. Now I'm not going to close this magic ring yet. I'm going to leave this open just because it gives me a little something to hang on to. Okay. These are kind of small. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 2. This is going to be the side of our petal. Then right down into this same stitch, I'm going to do 3 double crochets. If you don't want your petals to be as fat or as thick, you could do 2 double crochets here. If you want them to be wider, you would do more double crochets. Okay, so there's number 3. Now we need to do the other side of our petal here. And we're going to do that in the exact same fashion. We're going to chain 2. Then I'm going to move to this next stitch and I'm going to slip stitch right into that next stitch. Okay, so there is our little petal. If you want, you also could slip stitch right into the same petal space here. Sometimes I do that. It just kind of depends on my mood and what I'm feeling like. Then I go to the next stitch here and I do a slip stitch. So I'm just moving myself over. Chain 2. Now right back down into that same stitch, I need 3 double crochets. Here's 1. Mama, see, thank you so much for was that a rose you sent? Thank you. Chain 2, and then I'm going to move to the next stitch here. Uh, Pam, I didn't see, was your daughter feeling any better at all? I'm sorry, I missed it. I was looking at stitches. Kimberly, thank you so much for the club cheers. All right, we are rocking and rolling this morning, folks. Okay, here we go. Chain 2, and then we need 3 double crochets. A little bit better. Nice. Okay, well, hopefully she'll be feeling better soon. The little one is under the weather. Okay, so I do a chain of 2, then I do 3 double crochets in the same space, chain 2, and then I'm going to move to this next stitch here and I'm going to do a slip stitch. Jennifer asked, do you have a chevron tutorial on my page? There is one on my YouTube. If you look at the live tab on my YouTube page. Um, there's a number of videos there where we've recorded the lives, and there's one for the chevron. I don't remember which one it is. I want to say it's the aspen blanket. If you look for the aspen blanket, I think it's from start to finish. Um, okay, chain two, right down into that same stitch, 3 double crochets. I might be doing another chevron soon, but I've kind of been on a modern granny kick lately. You guys know how I am with that stuff. I kind of get on a roll with one thing and then I get distracted and I'll move on to something else. Hey, Kim, good morning. How are you, friend? Okay, now I'm going to move to the next stitch here and do a slip stitch. Now, here's the thing. I've only got 4 petals here. Normally I do a slip stitch and move to the next one, but see how tight this is in here? I'm just going to wing it and go ahead and start my next petal here. So I'm going to chain 2, working into this same stitch, 3 double crochets. This is very forgiving with these little flowers. They don't have to be perfect. They're so small, you can't really tell if you get like off track or anything, okay? Chain 2. Now I'm going to join with a slip stitch right here to our very first stitch. Okay, so if I was going to stop, this would be the first level of the flower. Okay, so you could tighten up your magic ring and it would look like this. For this, I'm going to do a double petal, and I'm not going to tighten the magic ring just yet. So what we have to do when we do the double petal, this is the double petal flower. What I do is I come back around the back and I add a chain structure around the back of the petal. And then what I do is I come back and I work and another set of petals into that chain space. And when I do the second set, instead of doing a double crochet, I actually do a treble crochet, so it makes them a little bigger. I chain 3, then do 3 trebles, and I work into that chain space. So the way that I do the chain, I actually work from the back. I turn my flower over, and if you want your petals to be staggered, what you need to do is get in the center of this petal here, and I just do a slip stitch under a few of these loops, okay? I'm physically moving myself over to kind of the back of this petal. So now I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to go into the center of this petal right here, just kind of under some of these stitches. I just kind of tuck them in. I'm not going all the way through to the other side, but I'm working on the back of these stitches and just putting my hook through. Then I do a slip stitch. So what this does is it creates this chain space right here that now I can work a new petal into that. Chain 2, move to the next petal. Again, randomly, I just kind of pick the back of a couple stitches and then I do a slip stitch. You want these chain spaces to be very tight to your work. If they get too loose and floppy, you would want to go down 1 chain. 2 is pretty small. I don't know if 1 is possible, but if you feel like this starts to get too big and loose, you want this to sit very tight to the back of your flower. Chain 2, move to the back of the next petal, and I just kind of wiggle my hook in there best I can. There's no magic or science to this. You just kind of wing it, okay? Then again, pulling tight, I do a slip stitch and secure that down. Chain 2, and now move to the next petal again and work into the back of that stitch. You can see why I don't really like to do the double petal ones. I'll do a few of them, but they're not my favorite. They're a lot of work. Chain 2, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch right back here where we started. Okay. Now, this is very important because we're working on the back of the work. Instinctively, you're going to want to start crocheting for this when you start the next petals, okay? But what we actually have to do is we need to work from the front. So you have to turn your work back around, and I'm going to slip stitch into this first chain space here from the front and just kind of get myself set up. So you have to bend these petals forward a little bit so you can see the chain space there. Friends, I'm right now I'm really focused on these flowers. I just wanted to mention I'm probably missing a grip of comments. It's really hard for me to do these and watch the comments because it is kind of tight in my work. So if I miss your comment, I apologize in advance. Our mods will try to answer the comments as best they can. If there's something super pressing, be sure and pin it for me and I'll try to look up. This is kind of tight and intricate, so bear with me here. I'm not intentionally trying to overlook you. I love you all. Okay. I'm going to chain 3. Okay. Now into this chain space, I'm going to do 3 treble crochets. Wrap my yarn around twice, right down into that chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So that is our first treble crochet. We need 2 more trebles into this little chain. Here's number 2 and number 3. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to do the other side of our petal over here. The way we do this is we chain 3. I go right back down into this same space and I slip stitch. Okay, so there is our little petal. Now I'm going to move to the next chain space. I'm going to do a slip stitch to move myself over and get myself into position. Again, just push these petals forward as you're working around. Chain 3. And now again, we're going to do 3 treble crochets. There's 1. Here is number 2 and number 3. Again, chain 2 and then right back down into that chain space, secure that with a slip stitch. So there is our second petal. Again, put your petal forward, find the next chain space, do a slip stitch to move yourself into that space where you're going to be working next. Chain 3. This is going to be the side of our petal. Now we need 3 3 treble crochets. I'm using US terms this morning, friends. US terms for crochet stitches. Okay, so we're doing 3 trebles. Now chain 3. We've got to do the other side of this petal. And again, right into that chain space, slip stitch. And I try to keep that nice and tight. You can see sometimes it's hard to get my hook through there. Okay, but you can see our little petals starting to form for the second layer. Put the next petal forward. Look for the chain space. Westy Lover, good morning. Slip stitch into the next chain space. Chain 3. And now we need 3 treble crochets. This is number 2 and number 3. Rachel is in the house. Good morning, Rachel. Friends, if you're not following my gal here, Rachel, she is amazing on TikTok. I would highly recommend you give her a follow. She has a pickle festival she's going to. Is that pickle festival in July? Rachel, remind me. So she's making all sorts of fun little amigurumis on her live, things that she's going to sell at the event when she goes. Again, join with a slip stitch. And now put your petal forward. This is going to be the last petal. Find the last little chain space. July 25th through 26th. So yeah, she's making all sorts of fun things on her live. If you're interested in amigurumi stuff and just hanging out and chatting, she's amazing to follow. Okay, so now we need our 3 trebles. Here is number 2 and number 3. I have to say, Westy Lover, my Papa Wheeler, who you all know and love, the crochet police, um, He used to have Westies. He loved having Westies. When his boys were little, they had Westie dogs, and they were the cutest little pups that he had. So I know he's got a soft space in his heart, and we see that Westie handle popping up all the time, and we love that. So Mr. Wheeler, he always had his Westies. Okay, so now I'm going to join with a slip stitch. Uh, get that little chain tacked down. Now I'm going to do another slip stitch right back here to where we began. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of secure that off. So this gets a little ruffly as we're doing it, and I'm not quite finished. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my magic ring closed and cinch up the center. Okay, and close up the very center of our magic ring. Now what I want to do is when I go to put these on the blanket, I want to have a way to attach them. So the way that I do this is I chain two. On the back of my work, I go somewhere over here on the opposite side. There's no science or exactness to this. I just kind of pick a space where I can put my hook into some stitches, underneath some stitches, and then I join with a slip stitch. And I just try to wiggle my stitches through there. I can't even get it to go through. Let's try to turn my hook. Oh, maybe it doesn't like this space. I don't know. Here we go. We got it. And then I just join with a slip stitch. And now I'm going to snip off my yarn. So we're going to snip this off. Leave yourself a long tail for weaving in. I'm not going to weave in any tails on my project. If you feel like this chain is too tight with only doing two, then you'll want to do three chains here. You don't want this to pull in on your project. But basically what this does is it gives me a space that when I go to attach this flower to my project, in this case, the edge of my blanket, I can basically crochet, pretend this is green yarn right here, right? And I'm working this. I have a way to attach this flower via crochet to the edge of my blanket because I'm going to work over that chain. These flowers are going to be like kind of floppy and freeform on the edge of this blanket. Okay. So that's why I'm adding the chain space. If you have a better way to join those on without the chain space, I kind of don't like it with two. I feel like it's pulling it in too tight. Do you see how that's squishing that in? Let's take that out and make it to three if I can get this stitch out. So, anyhow, friends, good morning. This morning, as I'm trying to get this out, let me just do a little recap here. We've had a lot of new people join. So, last week on the live, what I did is I made a star blanket. I did a 12-point star, and it's not very big. It's like 32 inches in diameter, so 32 inches across. And I'm making a bouquet blanket, but I'm not really following any of the patterns that are out there. I'm just kind of doing my own thing and winging it. So I did follow the for the 12-point star blanket. I followed Robin, Hooked by Robin. She has a fabulous tutorial of how to do the star blanket. Okay, and so I followed her tutorial, and that really was a great way to start and make the star. So then I'm kind of at a crossroads because basically, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this project. I don't feel like I really have any need for the bouquet blanket. It's just kind of to do it. But honestly, it's probably just going to go in a box and probably sit there. I don't know that I'm going to like have it out or anything. And so it's one of those projects where I kind of got to a crossroads where I'm like, do I want to make the star bigger? You can see the star here, kind of where I'm at with it. It's not super huge. This is the very center right here. Okay. The bigger you go with your bouquet blanket, or in this case, the star, the more flowers you're going to have to put on the edge of your blanket. So if you don't like making the flowers, which I'm not, are very time consuming, and then you have a lot of ends to weave in, right? So I don't know that I'm like loving that. Um, but I am going to try to finish the blanket. So I'm making I'm making two different flowers. I'm making some that are double petaled. We just finished the double petal. They take longer to make. And then I'm going to make a whole bunch of the single ones like this. You can see I've got oodles of them in my lap that all need to have their tails woven in. Once they have their tails woven in, they look like this. Okay, so you've got your little chain in the back. That's where I'm going to attach it to the edge of my blanket. So I'm just going to crochet join all the flowers to the edge. Now, a lot of the patterns for the bouquet blankets, you crochet the flowers right onto the edge as you're doing it. You could totally do that. I'm not following anything. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. This is kind of the way I operate. You guys know this is how I am. I rebel it up. I don't really follow directions and patterns. So that is what we're doing today. I'm making flowers to be able to join onto this blanket. Bree, nice to meet you. Uh, let's see. Jody asked, would it fall into a county fair classification? It could, Jody. I would have to look maybe like as a tablecloth or a centerpiece, maybe. I don't really, I don't really know. Do you sew them onto the blanket, Paula? I'm actually going to crochet them onto the blanket. So basically, let me find where I left off with this blanket. Here's where I left off. So basically, when I'm doing this, the edge of the star, I'm going to pull this out and get some yarn. Okay. So let's pretend we're right here finishing this. This is what I kind of envision doing right here. So I would take my flower, okay, and basically I do a chain right here of two. And what I'm kind of envisioning, instead of doing the chain of two, is I would somehow double crochet this right into my work itself. That didn't work so well. Let me again, I've not done this. I just am kind of experimenting as I go along. Rather than like sew them on. I don't want to sew them. I just want to crochet them on there. It might be easier to crochet them if I do a single crochet. Let's pretend this is a single crochet round. Hang on. Let me transition here. Okay, let's try this with a single crochet. So basically, I would go through my petal of my flower. I'm thinking like that. And then crochet some single crochets. This is not ready for this to happen yet. But then when I get to another spot, kind of space these out, right? Then grab another flower, go through, and then grab another one as we work along. So that's kind of what I'm envisioning for mine. So these flowers are going to be like floppy around the edge kind of thing. And I might have to actually crochet it from the back so that they kind of face more forward. This makes them kind of go to the back. So I might have to turn my work and do it that way to make them kind of go forward rather than flop backwards. So I don't know if I can do this without messing up my whole blanket, but we could try. I'm down for trying, whatever, You know me, I'm easy. Um, let's just work our way kind of over here a little bit and get myself some space to work. Okay, so let's pretend we're on the back now. Put my flower through. And I might have to do a couple stitches on this, right? That's the other thing for some of these bigger flowers, like do a few stitches to get them kind of more secure. And then I would skip some spaces, or I would just do singles without the flowers, right? Kind of space myself away from the other flowers. Where'd my other flower go? Here, we'll use this one. I don't know. I got flowers and strings everywhere. It's one of those mornings. This is how my brain works when I just sit here and wing things. I'll wing it. Okay, so let's single crochet this. And probably in the next stitch also, we'll do 2 and try to get that one more secure. Then let's do some more single crochets and get ourselves kind of away from the edge here. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for the edge of the blanket, is kind of doing it like that so that they are more towards the front and not, if they are too floppy, the other thing I can do as well is do more rows through here and then try to attach right here as well as I'm coming back around. So either way, I'm going to get them kind of more secured. I really don't want to have to sew them though. So that is the thing. But you do want them to be floppy because basically, I don't know if I can pull this up in my lap, but let's try. Let me get rid of these little flowers. So when you pull it up in the middle, right, you want those flowers to be like flopping. There will be flowers all over this, right? So you do want them kind of, bouncy and stuff. So I'll have to experiment and see how I'm going to do that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of winging it and being creative. So Mama C said it seems like an awful lot of work. It does seem like a lot of work. That's why I'm like, I'm not going to put, um, I'm not going to make this bigger because I don't want to make all these flowers. But I do think they're floppy enough, right? You want them to be floppy. Flowers are floppy in the bouquet. So anyhow, that's what I'm doing. Gen X said I thought they were floppy. Yeah, they're pretty floppy. Does somebody have a birthday? Julie, do you have a birthday? I have a birthday this month. It's my birthday month. Let me get reset up here, guys. Let me take this back out. Well, I guess I could leave that. I got my yarn all scrambled up. We're going to make some more flowers. I just got to regroup here now that I've got myself all. Okay, here we go. So the yarn that I'm using to make these flowers, yes, Paula, it's like a bouquet blanket. I Miss Mary said my flowers are very floppy. Okay, so for those that have made it, do you feel like I'm on the right track here? Not that I'm going to rework it, but Lainey said I think they're supposed to be floppy. Okay, so happy birthday, Colleen said, my birthday is June 21st. We have so many birthdays for the month of June. Mine is the 19th. So, friends, if you come on the live and it is your birthday, be sure and shout out so we can give you lots of birthday love, okay? So, back to making flowers. Let me find my yarn. I've lost my hook. Here's my hook. Let's make a few more flowers. I want a lot of the single flowers. Okay, so I'm doing 2 different ones. I'm doing some that are just violets with single petals, and then I'm doing some that are violet that have double petals. The double petals take me a lot longer to make, so I'm not going to be doing as many of those. I'm going to be doing majority of them, the little tiny flowers. And so I'm just working around, and this is a 5 petal, very easy flower. You can use this as an applique for a lot of different projects if you're making blankets. After you weave in your ends, they do look much nicer. Okay, here is a finished one. And you can see on the back, it's really nice and clean. And I added a chain across the back. I think I did a chain of 3. I think that is what works best. This way, when I go to add it to the edge of the blanket, I can crochet that little chain right along as I go to the edge. So that way I don't have to sew these on. I don't want to sew them on. But I didn't want to make the flowers like how everybody's making them, where you just kind of go around the edge. I wanted mine to be different because I am different. And so that's kind of what I am making. The double flower, after you get those woven in, that's what this one looks like. So the double flower, I think this one I may have done 4 chains. It's uber floppy. I might need to go a little less on that. But you do want them to be kind of, mobile and flexible on the edge of your blanket, okay? And the center of my blanket is a 12-point star. I followed Robin at Hooked by Robin on her YouTube. And I followed her pattern. We worked on that last week. But if you want to make a very easy star blanket, her tutorial is amazing. It's really easy to follow. It's the first time I've ever made a star, and it is just really fun to make. So if you have need for a star, I would highly recommend her YouTube tutorial. Maggie is in the house. Good morning, Miss Maggie. Friends, Maggie is pinned there. She's one of my friends here on TikTok. She goes live on the weekends on Saturday and Sunday mornings. I highly encourage you to give her a follow. Sometimes after work, if she's not too tired, she'll go live in the evenings. But she is a great one to follow here on TikTok as well. Um, can you tell me, can you can tell you're not really into this project. Valvox, I'm trying to be into the project. I just don't know how practical this project is for me. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Here's the thing. There's a lot of things that go viral or trend, and everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon and make whatever that project is. I had been wanting to make a star blanket, and I thought I would let's see. Bye, everyone. Off to my sister-in-law. See you next week. Bye, Mom. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great day. Tell Ronnie I said hi. Um, so anyhow, I don't think there's anything wrong with not getting on the bandwagon, right? I don't know that this flower bouquet blanket has a lot of practical use for me personally. I don't know that I'm gonna like have it hanging out in my house. It doesn't really match my colors. I did want to make the star blanket, so I'm trying to stick with it and get it finished because I do think it's going to be very pretty. But I just don't know how practical it is for me. I do love making flowers. You guys have seen me make flowers before, so I thought it would be fun to go ahead and make the flowers on the live. And I did enjoy making the 12-point star on the live as well. I really liked making the star blanket. I could see that the star would be very nice as like a baby blanket. So, I'm kind of mixed, but I'm not really one for like jumping on trends and stuff. I feel like this is kind of me jumping on a trend. But in hindsight, I don't know how much I love it, if I'm being perfectly honest. Okay. So, I try to be honest with you guys. I'm not going to like put on airs and be something that I'm not. If you want to make a bouquet blanket, by all means, make a bouquet blanket. You do you. And I don't hate the project. I really don't. So let's make a flower. Okay. So, the way that I make my flowers is I start with a slip knot on my hook. I bring down a loop and I make it so that it's crisscrossed here, and I hold this in my fingers. Then what I do is I yarn over, I go through the loop, also working over the tail, and I draw up a loop so that it's like a single crochet, and I yarn over and pull through two. That is how I start my magic ring. Sometimes I count this as a stitch, sometimes I don't. In this case, I'm not going to count it because what happens is this does get a little snug in the project. Now I'm going to make 8 single crochets around the center of the magic ring. So I go through the ring. I'm also working over this tail and I'm doing 12 single crochets. So I just will bring this around as I'm working. It's very important to work over your tail because that is how you're going to close your magic ring. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If this gets too big as you're working, you can pull this and tighten it up a little bit. I typically don't close mine when I'm working on them in this fashion, just because sorry, Ashley, I'm doing eight single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And I'm making 5 petal flowers. I guess I should probably be doing 10. Let's do 10. Sorry, I'm changing it all up. Can you tell I'm winging it? Let's do 10. We're going to do 10 and see how that works out. Okay. So 10 single crochets into the magic ring. I skip over this first one and I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the second stitch. Okay. Now I'm going to start the petals. Again, you can close this if you wish, but I'm not going to close this. I'm going to leave it open. It gives me something to hang on to as I'm making the petals. Chain 2, right into this same stitch, I need 3 double crochets. Yeah, I'm rebelling it up, guys. Sorry. Every flower is going to be a little different. Chaos crocheting in action. Uh, Tell me you all don't do this. Like, you sit there on the couch and you're like, wait, was I doing 10? Was I doing 8? Was I doing 12? Where's my directions? Hey, there's no directions. This is just in my brain, right? There's nothing to consult. Okay. After you get your 3 double crochets, we need to finish the other side of the petal over here. So we're going to chain 2. Then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the next stitch. Okay. Chaos, April chaos. Do we need a sticker of April's chaos? Okay, chain 2. We're starting our next petal. Now we're going to do right back into that same space, 3 double crochets. I definitely do it that way, but I thought I was the only one. Well, Ashley, you're in good company. I'm always winging it over here, and half the time I'm not following directions. It's just coming out of my brain. So it's like, wait, what was I doing 2 seconds ago? Squirrel ran by, totally got distracted, phone rang, you know. All of the comments are flying. I'm reading comments and it's like, oh, I don't know what I was doing. Okay, chain 2. I do kind of know. Now I'm going to go into the next space and I'm going to join with a slip stitch. Okay. Then I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch and we'll be ready to start the next petal. So we have 2 petals done. Now we're going to start number 3. Chain 2, right back down into that space, 3 double crochets. Is the purple too hard to see, the dark purple? I could go back to the light. We could tear apart this game. I'm fine with that. Okay, 3 double crochets, chain 2. Now I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the next stitch. Now we have 3 petals. Slip stitch to the next stitch. Now we're going to start petal number 4. Chain 2, 3 double crochets right into the same space. Give me just 1 second, Kristen, and Mischief. I will share the details of the yarn. Give me just 1 moment. Let me just finish these petals. Chain 2. Now I'm going to join into the next stitch with a slip stitch. Okay. Move to the next stitch, slip stitch. Just move yourself over. You want to give yourself some space in between these petals. That's why we're doing the slip stitches. Chain 2. Now we're going to do 3 double crochets right back and into that same stitch. Here is number 3. Now we need to finish this petal. Chain 2. Now I'm going to join with a slip stitch into the next stitch. If you end up with too many stitches, just work your way over. It's not going to be a thing, okay? And now I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the very first one that I did. Now I'm not finished. I'm going to close my magic ring. Let's get this tightened up. I left my magic ring open to give me something to hang on to as I was working on this flower. It's very small little flower. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a chain space on the back so that I can attach this to my project. Hey, Captain Redbeard is here. How are you? Thanks for hopping on. Appreciate you being here. Captain Redbeard, for those that don't know, is Maggie's other half, better half, whatever they say. He's the man. So a lot of us follow Captain Redbeard. He's very supportive of all us crazy crochet girls and guys, but he's very supportive. So I chain 2 or 3, depending on how I want this to go over. Uh-oh, I got to pause for a puzzle. Hang on 1 second, folks. Puzzle it up. So glad they went back to the old puzzle. What I'm doing is I'm creating a chain space here on the back so I can attach this to my project. So I just pick a spot over here on the opposite side and I just kind of slide these stitches as best I can. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just kind of get your hook under some of those stitches and then join with a slip stitch. I think I have some tied up in there. It'll be fine. Let's just get this through here. Okay, and now I'm going to snip off and call that good. Where's my scissors at? Hey, Amanda, good morning. I'm making flowers this morning, Amanda. If you're just hopping on, we're making some little violets for my blanket. So the chain space that I created right here is how I'm going to attach this to the back. I really don't like how that chain space turned out, but you know what? I'm not going to redo it. I will when I sew in my tail, weave in my tail, I will do my best to kind of fix that. Okay. So this is the front of our little violet. Okay, 5 petals, very easy. And on the edge of the blanket, when we're ready to attach them, you can see this little chain space. See how I crocheted that right into the project? That's what we're going to be doing. And these are going to be floppy little flowers on the edge of my blanket. Okay, so if you're just joining on, the yarn that I'm using today is the new Bag a Day yarn by Crystal at Bag a Day. You guys all know her from YouTube. Crystal partnered with Mary Maxim and they developed this yarn for her. It's called Tonal Hues. This is my first time using this project and it is a beautiful yarn to work with. One very nice thing about this yarn is it is an anti-pill acrylic. Does everybody know what a pill is, anti-pill acrylic? What it is, when you wash your project, your blanket or your wearable, your hexagon cardigan, you wash it over and over again to keep it clean, right? It gets the little fuzz balls on the yarn. That is called a pill. This yarn is specifically designed to prevent against that. So I think this would be a fabulous yarn for wearables, okay? And I love this colorway of the green. It is called the Garden Lodge. It calls for an H8 hook. For the center of the blanket, I did the 12-point star by Robin, Hooked by Robin. She has a video tutorial, and I actually used a size I9 hook. So I went bigger for the center of the star. And the reason why is because I want these flowers on the edge. I'm basically making my own like flower bouquet blanket. So when you pull it up in the center, I wanted this to have like some flop to it and be nice and flowy so that you'll see all these flowers in the center kind of flopping around. Okay, so what I'm doing today is I'm making these little flowers. And the yarn that I'm using for the purple is the same yarn. It is Crystal's yarn, also called the Tonal Hues. This is a brand new yarn. You can get this at Mary Maxim. There are links on the link tree. Oh, your video for the blanket links to Bella Coca. Oh, I totally lied. Robin didn't make this. Bella Coca did. Sorry, Bella Coca. I love you too. I hope you don't see this and get mad at me. My yarn's all twisted up here, guys. Sorry. I'm trying to regroup. Bella Coca, 12-point star. Okay. Bella Coca, 12-point star. Very easy pattern to follow. Her video is great. This is what happens. I have all these favorite people on YouTube that I watch. Um, I've gotten myself all twisted up here. Sorry. Sorry, friends. Let me get unscrambled here. So this purple, again, tonal hues. Now, I've deconstructed this skein. It originally had the lighter color here in the middle, okay? I pulled that out and I've been making flowers with it. Also all tangled up in my lap. But this is called, there we go, Your Majesty Queen. And again, for the center, I used an I9. Now, for the flowers, I am using an H8. H8. If you see anything double gas, that also means anti-pill. I've never heard that term, Hannah. I have never heard that. That is very interesting. Thanks for sharing. I learn new things every day about crochet. Very cool. Okay, so let me get these flowers back over here in my my mess. Okay, so let's make some more flowers, friends. If you're all down. Mods, I was going to tell you, I get my hair done today. And I need to get off at 9:15 today. I don't know what time it is, but could you let me know when it's 9:15? I'm not going to stay on until 9:30 today because I need to get a shower. Where's the end of my yarn? So I didn't do that yet this morning. I was just not feeling it this morning. I had to get my coffee and all the things in the morning. So it's 9:28 where I'm at. I have 45 minutes. Okay, perfect. We have time to make some more flowers. So let's make some more flowers. What do you say? This is popping up here. Let's get this out of the way. Let's get back into position. Maggie said you would be proud I showered this morning. Yeah, but Maggie, that's what I need to do. I can't. Yeah, get my hair did. I'm excited. I have really long hair. In years past, I used to color it myself, but it is so long I can't even begin. I just let the experts do the hair. And I love my gal. Her name is Carly Ann. She's the cutest thing. And so anyhow, I like going and getting my hair done. She's always like, "How's your TikTok going?" I'm like, "Oh, girl, it is so great. I just love her." So we talk about our little TikTok thing. She's definitely got the little Alabama accent. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so I start with my magic ring and I do a single crochet into the very center of my magic ring. I do my magic rings a little different than everybody else, but that's just how I do it. Okay, so into the magic ring. Now, here's very important, friends. Always work over your tail. So this is my tail. I'm going to put this around the magic ring and I'm going to work over both of these strands. Some people forget to tell us this, and it's very important. That way, when we go to close up our magic ring, it will close nice. That tail is what allows us to do that. I need to put eight, eight. I think I want to try 8. Last time I did 10 and it felt like too many. Let's do 8. I've gotten myself all confused this morning. I think 8 double crochets. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 10 felt like too many. Now I'm going to pull on my tail and close this magic ring up a smidge. Not all the way. Okay. I want to leave something that I can hang on to. I'm going to join with a slip stitch into that very first single crochet. Okay, slip stitch. You can close this up all of the way if you prefer. You don't have to. In this case, I will close it at the end, but this kind of helps me have something to hang on to. This is kind of small on the live. Chain 2. We're going to start our petals. Okay, right into this space here, we need 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So right into that same stitch, I do 3 double crochets. So here's our chain, 3 doubles. Now I need another chain. Chain 2. I'm going to move to the next stitch here and join with a slip stitch. Then I'm going to move to the next stitch and slip stitch. I'm just moving myself over a little bit. Now I'm going to start the next petal. Chain 2. Now I need 3 double crochets right into that same stitch. Here is 1, number 2, and number 3. Okay, chain 2, move to the next stitch, slip stitch, move to the next stitch, slip stitch, just moving ourselves over a little bit, chain 2. Sweet said, "You make it look so easy, but I'm having the hardest time learning this stuff." It does take some practice. You have to give yourself a little grace. Bear in mind, Sweets, I have been crocheting for 40 years, and it was very interesting. Our friend Rachel, she made a deal with her husband. His name is Alex. If she got to 10,000 followers, um, he would learn to crochet live on TikTok. And as I watched Alex, a brand new crocheter, learn from scratch, it was extremely eye-opening to me because it has been so long since I was at that place in my life. Um, I tend to forget sometimes how hard it is to be a very beginner. But I do remember I learned when I was 9, And I remember getting so frustrated. Of course, I didn't have a lot of self discipline back then. I remember pitching my crochet hook across the room. I was so frustrated. Um, so I do remember things like that, but it's very, very difficult. This flower that I'm doing is definitely more of like an intermediate, and I don't want to discourage folks not to do it, but it's probably more of an intermediate skill level. Number one, it's incredibly small, and that makes it very difficult to do. You could probably try to make um, a a project that maybe has a little thicker yarn with the flower if you're really set on making a flower, but it is challenging. Okay, this is not an easy thing I'm doing today. Remember to give yourself grace. It just you have to, you're not going to sit down and be able to do this like I'm doing it this morning. It's going to take practice. There were times where I couldn't make this at all, and I had to sit here, and I did get frustrated. There's times where I'm making a flower and it still doesn't work quite right. And you'll see that on the live. I already messed one up kind of this morning. I'm like, what am I doing here? Give yourself grace. It will come with time and practice. There's Mr. Alex. He said he did pitch his across the room. It's hard. People think that crochet, you're just going to pick it up and it's going to magically everything come together. It takes a lot of discipline and a lot of practice. So hang in there. Because it will come if you are new. If a project is not necessarily working for you, I highly encourage you to maybe put that project aside and move on to something else. I get bored very easily. I have like 20 works in progress. I don't recommend having 20 works in progress, but these guys will tell you I get very bored. And so I can't sit here and do the same thing every day. This is my hobby. I do work full time, and I do love it. I love crocheting, but I love to come on and try to, teach new stitches to friends that are maybe just learning. And a lot of my projects are easier. Today is kind of a more of a challenging project, but stick with it. Now, for those who are asking if this will be live of how to do this, this will be available on my YouTube. I am live this morning both on TikTok and on YouTube. My handle on YouTube is Wheeler 8 Acres, the same thing. I come live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings at 7:30 Central Time. And those videos, when you look at my profile, you'll see um, uh, what is it? Videos, shorts, and then there's another category that says live. Look for the live tab and you can see all of the replays from previous live sessions. Okay. So that way you can go back and rewatch things if you wish to. And I would love it if you could subscribe over there on YouTube. It's free to subscribe. So feel free to, look me up over there. Hey, Shan, good morning. How are you? When I'm done, I join with a slip stitch to the very first stitch. Okay, so I've got 5 petals. If you want to do a 6 petal flower or more petals, all you have to do is do more single crochets in the middle of your ring. Okay, I'm doing 5. We'll keep it consistent. I'm going to pull my tail closed now, and I'm going to tighten up the center of our little flower. So there we go. There's our little flower. Now I'm not done. I want to have a way to attach these to my blanket. So I flip my flower over. Normally before I make this chain, I would weave in this tail. Okay. I don't weave in tails on the live. It's very time consuming. If somebody wants to see how I weave in a tail, raise your hand up. I will weave it in and let you know. I'm going to chain 3. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm going to reach over here to the opposite side of where this chain started, and I'm going to pick a spot on this little flower petal. I'm not going to go all the way through. I'm just going to kind of work in the back of these stitches so this is hidden. And I'm going to slide these onto my hook, and I'm going to join this with a slip stitch. Okay. Then I'm going to snip off. But what that does, I will weave in this tail as well. Okay, so I'll have 2 tails to weave in. But what we did is we created a little chain space here. So that way, when we go to sew this or crochet this, in my case, to the edge of my blanket, I have a chain space where I can crochet around that and attach it without having to sew onto the blanket. So can you kind of see that? These flowers are intended to be kind of floppy on the edge. Make sense? Let's see. Alex said Rachel is almost to 11K. I'll be back live with her again. He's so brave. You're so brave, Alex. I don't know that I would ever attempt to go live first learning to crochet. Like, that's a very vulnerable place. I give you huge kudos, and you are doing so amazing. So amazing. Mama C said, I still pitch stuff across the room. Sweet said, I'm looking you up on YouTube. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate that. Hey, Cindy, good morning. Okay. Do y'all want to see another flower? I have time. I need more. These flowers are going to take a long time. Make sure you're committed before you decide to do a bouquet blanket or do a different pattern than what I'm doing. Let's see. He loves the attention. Do you have time to show a double layer flower? I sure do, Sabrina. Let's do that next. So this is the double layer flower. You can see it's got 2 rows of petals here. Here's another one. We made this one on the live this morning in purple. There's 2 different ways you can do the double layer. Um, this one right here, I put the petals in the same spot as the other petals, so they like align against each other. That's one way of doing it. This one, I staggered them. So can you see how they're like in between the petals for the back row? That's the other way. I'm going to do them staggered. Okay. So we're going to do we'll do a double petal flower. Okay. Okay, here we go. Again, start with Bird Lady Art. Good morning. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for hanging out. I watch you all the time on your channel too. So thanks for hanging out. Glad you're here. I start with a slip knot or excuse me, a magic ring. Okay. The way that I do my magic ring, I bring down a loop and I hold the crisscross in my thumb and my middle finger. Okay. Then what I do is I wrap my yarn around, I go into the space, into the ring, and I draw up another loop. I yarn over, we have 2 loops, I yarn over and pull through both. That is how I do my magic ring. You can kind of give this a little tug if your little stitch gets too wide over here. Now we need 8 double crochets into the magic ring. The thing is, when you're making a magic ring, make sure you are working over your tail. Okay, this is your tail here. I will just kind of maneuver this around as I'm working this to make sure that I'm working over both loops, okay, both the inside and the tail. And I'm going to make 8 single crochets into that magic ring. If your magic ring gets too big and you feel like this is too much to handle, you can always cinch it up a little bit. You pull on this tail and that will make it smaller. Okay. So where was I at? 1, 2, 3. I don't count this very first one. See how it gets kind of tight in there? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, see how I pull that tail around? 6, 7, and 8. Let me count that. Make sure I have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now I'm going to pull on the tail a little bit. I want to close this space up a smidge. I'm not going to close it the entire way. I put this tail to the back. I go under the loops of the first stitch right here, and I join with a slip stitch. Now, you can close up your magic ring at this point if you wish. I do not close my magic ring. I like to have something to kind of hang on to because it is kind of small, okay? Chain 2, we're going to start our first petal. Right into this same stitch, we're going to do 3 double crochets. Here's 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Now we need to do the other side. See how we have this chain here? We need to do another chain here. Chain 2, And now we're going to move to the next stitch here and join with a slip stitch. We want that to be very flat to the center of the flower. So there is our first petal. The other way you can do this is you can actually put this slip stitch right in here with the petal if you feel like that works better. And sometimes I do that as well. Gift goal already. Pam, thank you. Um, oh no, it's going. I think that, can you guys see the gift goal? It has the plumerias. Let's see. Okay, I'm now going to move to the next stitch with a slip stitch. Just kind of work away from this petal a little bit. Chain 2, we're starting our next petal now. Right into that same stitch, we need 3 double crochets. Here's 1, 2, and 3. Good luck with your test, Carol. Have a great day. Love you. I'll see you later. Carol is my best friend, guys. Mama C, who you see here. She has some medical stuff happening right now. Love her to pieces. Thanks for hanging out, Carol. I was going to ask if you got the stickers to work. I couldn't. I didn't see. I've been so tied up on stitching today. I've missed a lot of the comments. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, now into the next space here, I join with a slip stitch. Okay, slip stitch. You want that to be very flat. Move to the next stitch here. Again, slip stitch. Chain 2. Now we're going to start the next. Yes, happy Pride Month. It's Friday Eve, Karina. Are you excited? We need to. Mischief said, I found the yarn, but it's out of stock. Oh, wow. Well, did they have one of those buttons where you can ask them to send you a reminder? I'm sure they'll be making more. Everybody's been all a rave about the yarn, you know. Okay, 3 double crochets. Again, chain 2. Now right back into the next stitch, slip stitch. I don't have a lot of space here left. I'm going to go ahead and start my next petal, okay? Chain 2, right into this next space here, 3 double crochets. It says purple will be restocked in July. Make yourself one of those reminders so you can be one of the first ones to grab it when it's available. Chain 2, into the next stitch, slip stitch. Okay, so we've done 1, 2, 3, 4. We need one more petal. I'm going to go ahead and chain 2 and work my next 3 double crochets right into that same stitch. The other yarn I got is like a tan yarn. It's really pretty. Let's see, it's called the bouquet blanket. The way you gather up the blanket, it makes it look like a bunch of flowers. Yeah, I'm making my own bouquet blanket. I'm like, this is the April Wing It style blanket. Chain 2. Now I'm going right back down into that next stitch and I'm going to do a slip stitch. And then I'm going to go to the first stitch here and slip stitch again. Okay. So now if you were going to make a single petal, a single row of your flower, right? We're going to do the double next. See how this one has 2? If you were doing a single, you would stop right here and do your chain across the back. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make the double petal. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to work this one. You can see a little better. I'm going to work around the back of this flower. Okay. This new one that I just made. And what we're going to do is we're going to create chain spaces. I'm going to make 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, working my way around. Then what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work back over and we're going to work our next petals into that chain space. Okay, and we'll work that all the way around. So I literally turn my work to the back. You can close up your magic ring at this point if you want. It's entirely up to you. I still kind of leave mine open just because it helps me get into these stitches a little better. So if you want to stagger your petals, the first thing you have to do is do a slip stitch into the back of the petal, your first petal here. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this through and do a slip stitch. Then I'm going to chain 2. Again, I'm on the back of my flower. I'm going to go kind of to the bottom of the flower, and I'm just going to put my hook under a couple of these stitches. I'm not going all the way through the other side, and I'm going to do a slip stitch. You want this chain structure to sit very close to your work here. You don't want it to be too big. Chain 2. Now again, into the back of this petal here, I just kind of use my thumb and slide my hook under a couple of the stitches, and again, slip stitch. Chain 2, move to the next petal, slide my hook under a couple right there in the middle of the stitch, kind of at the base. You want it at the base. You have to be kind of patient with this. There's no real rhyme or right reason to do this. Slip stitch, chain 2, move to the next petal again, put my hook through here. I'm probably missing a ton of comments, guys. I have to look at my work as I'm doing this, so I apologize. I'm not trying to overlook you. Rachel, have a great day. The mods will do their best to help answer the questions as well, and our OGs that are here. Okay, slip stitch, chain 2, and now, oh, I'm out of yarn. I'm like, what? Well, I guess it ended at an okay place. I'm going to have to join a new yarn. I'm going to slip stitch to the very first chain that we did. And in this case, I'm going to tie off because we're going to have to actually do another color. Normally, I would keep going. Okay. So there is our little chain space. Now I'm going to cinch up the center, get this nice and tight in the middle. Okay. So this is what the front of the flower looks like. Now what has happened when we turn this back over, it's very important as you're working this chain space around the back, instinctively, you'll want to start working into these chains from the back. Make sure you turn your work back to the front. Very important. Then you're going to put these petals down and you're going to find the chain space. See the little chain there? There are 5 of these that we just made as we work our way around. Here's the next one, okay? So in this case, I'm going to get my next strand of yarn. If I can find it, here it is. This might actually be kind of cool because the back is going to be this dark purple color. I'm going to start with a slip knot on my hook. Now, normally if I hadn't had to snip off, I would have just kept going and I would slip stitch into the chain space here and do a a chain of 3. So again, slip knot on my hook, and I'm going to do a chain of 3 right here. I just slip stitched into that space. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so you can see, if I get this out of the way here, I'm working into that little chain. Can you guys see that area? I know it's really small. Right into this same space, again, now we're going to do treble crochets. Again, US terms, I'm going to do 3 treble crochets. The way you do a treble, I wrap my yarn around twice. I go into the chain space, grab up a loop. Now we have 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. One more treble, we need a total of 3. Again, wrap our yarn around twice, right down into that chain space, grab up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So this is the side of our petal here where we chain 3. We're now going to chain 3 on this side as well. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to join with a slip stitch right into that same chain space that we did. You want that to be kind of low profile there. Okay. Now I'm going to find the next chain space. Hang on here, guys. I got a little knot happening. Okay. I find the next chain space. I'm also going to work over this tail just to kind of get my weaving started on this. And I'm going to slip stitch into the next chain space. Again, I'm pushing these petals forward so I can see the chain and work in it. Okay. Now we need to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Right into this chain space. Now we need our 3 trebles. Here's number 1, number 2, and number 3. Now we need our chain of 3 for the other side of the petal to finish this. Chain 3, right back down into the chain space here, slip stitch. Okay, so if we put this back up, you got to kind of twist these petals a little bit. You can see how we're making our second layer of petals. Okay, once again, I'm going to move to the next chain space. Put your petals forward. Here it is right here. And again, slip stitch. Now I'm going to work over 2 strands of my tails because they're there and I can, and it'll be easier in the long run. Chain 3, right into that chain space. We need our 3 trebles. 1, here's number 2, and number 3. Now we need to chain 3. Again, back down into that chain space with our slip stitch. That completes petal number 3. Okay. Now, once again, put the next petal down forward, find your next chain space, and we're going to slip stitch, move ourselves over to start working that next petal. Chain 3. You don't have to work over these tails if you don't want to. I'm just doing it so I have less to work to do in the very end. Now we need 3 treble crochets. Number 2, here is number 3. Now we need to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Again, right back down into that chain space, slip stitch. And we have 1 chain space left. So I'm going to find that chain, put my hook through, again, slip stitch. I move myself from this petal over into the new section. Chain 3, and now we need 3 treble crochets. There's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 3. Again, slip stitch right into that very first, or right into that chain space. Now I'm going to find the very first space. This is where the first one was that I was working. And I'm going to do another slip stitch there just to kind of complete the circle. Okay. Flatten your little petals back out. They get kind of bent up when you're working on them. There is our double petal flower. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a chain space on the back so that we can attach this to our blanket via crochet. So you can see this one right here. Here's another double petal. See how I have this little chain space in purple right here that I made? The way I did that, before I snipped off here, get these tails out of the way, I just chained 3. 1, 2, 3. Then what I do is I come over to the opposite side over here and I attach that chain just by sliding under some of the stitches. I just kind of pick a spot and I put my hook under those stitches and draw up a loop, and then I do a slip stitch. Then I snip off. Leave yourself enough of a chain or a tail. You're going to have to weave that tail back in. Okay. Cinch that up. Now I crocheted over these tails, so I can just snip these off. They're in there. They're pretty secure. Good enough for this project. You could always weave them in a little more if you wish. But what that does, and of course, guys, I would weave in the center tail before I did all this. Okay, don't be like me on the live where I'm not weaving in these tails. Weave in your tails as you go. It'll make your life a lot easier. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and weave that. I'm gonna have to weave this into the center, working around that chain. And it's gonna be a pain in the you know what. All right, so make sure you're doing that. But what this does is it gives this chain. That way, when we're attaching this to our blanket, we can crochet over this, and then I don't have to sew them to my project. So adding these little chains makes it very, very easy. So that's the back of our flower. This is the front of our flower. I really love the two-tone. Don't you guys love the two-tone? I should do some more of these. What do you think? Doesn't that look cool? I love it. I love it. So basically, I'm going to mix. I have some that are just singles, and then I'm making some that are doubles, and I'm doing them all the different colors of purple. Okay. So they look like little violets. Some of them are a little wadded up because this is how they look once you get them finished. After you've woven in your tails, this is the front. This is the back. You can see the chain here. It looks nice and clean and finished. The two-tone is really, really pretty. So here's what I think we should do for the next two-tone. Let's make another double petal. Are you guys liking this? Do you want me to keep going? I don't even know if people are enjoying this. So shout out if you want me to make more of these flowers. I hope everybody's like, this is cool. Some people are probably like, I'm moving on. Vanessa said, I love this. Cindy said, yes. Kelly said, I love the two tones. Okay. Sounds like people love it. So here's what I'm going to do. This yarn, if you're just coming on, is Bag a Day. You guys know Crystal on YouTube. She is a wonderful, wonderful YouTuber. She has thousands of videos. She partnered with Mary Maxim and she came up with this Tonal Hues yarn. This yarn is an anti-pill yarn. It's great for wearables. I did two different colors. I did the green is the center of my blanket. I made a star and I'm attaching these flowers to the star. So it's going to be like a bouquet blanket. Okay. The green I used is called the Garden Lodge. I actually used a size I9 hook instead of the H8 that was recommended. I wanted the center of the star, when I pull it up like a bouquet, I wanted it to be nice and flexible. So that's why I went up a bigger size. The purple is also called Your Majesty Queen. You can get this yarn on Mary Maxim. Now, somebody mentioned that the purple is on back order and it's coming back into stock in July. It's been very popular. Her yarn has been very popular. For me, as I was working on the star, it's soft, it's wonderful on the hands. It's absolutely gorgeous. The purple is the most vibrant purple, honestly, I think I've ever seen. It is just stunning. And I thought with the green, this would make beautiful little violets. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. All right, so don't cringe. I'm pulling out the whole middle of this skein. Da, 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 and I'm snipping it. Da, 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 da. All right, so here's what I think we should do for the next flower. I have 15 minutes. I hope I can make a full flower in 15 minutes. I have to get a shower this morning. I get my hair done today. And I didn't shower yet this morning. I'm behind schedule. So, anyhow, I think for the very center, I'm going to do the dark purple. Then for the back, I'm going to do the light purple. Okay, opposite of what we just did. So here we go. Let's make another flower. I start with a magic ring. We're going to start, it's going to look just like this, but with the dark. Okay. Magic ring. I draw down a loop so that they're crisscrossed. I hold the loop between my thumb and my middle finger. Okay. I do my magic rings a little different than everybody. Uh, Wrap my yarn around. I go through the magic ring and draw up a loop. So now I have two loops on my hook. I yarn over and go through both. Basically, I just made a single crochet. Sometimes this little loop right here will get a little big. All you do is pull on this loop and you can kind of tighten that up. Now, as I work around this magic ring, I'm also going to work around this tail. This tail right here will help to tighten up the magic ring when we're making the final pull on it to get it closed up. We need 8 single crochets into the magic ring. So again, work over that tail. Here's number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now I'm going to pull the tail and tighten this up. I'm not going to close my magic ring the entire way. You totally could if you want, but I kind of leave mine a little bit open. And the reason why is that gives me something to hang on to. Okay. Can we get 50,000 likes before April finishes the live today? Thank you, Gen X. And thank you for everybody for all the screen taps. It's almost at 40,000. We're at 36,000. Friends, I apologize. I have been doing a lot of Stitch Talk today. I know I have missed a lot of your comments. I will be sure after the live to go back and read through all of the comments. I typically do that anyhow. If I feel like I did not do a good job of answering your question on the live, I will DM you and let you know the answer. Okay. So when I talk about the stitches on days like today, it makes it kind of hard. Hey, Carla, good morning. How are you, friend? I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the very first stitch here. But the mods, I think, today have done a fabulous job to help answer the questions. So, how about a round of applause for our mods? And we just hit 40,000 likes on the live. Thank you guys so much for all of the screen taps. I really, really appreciate it. And thanks for hanging out this morning. Okay, so we're going to start our petal. The way we do this is we chain two. Right into the same stitch right here, I'm now going to do 3 double crochets. We really do have the best mods. They are amazing. I could not do this without them. We have 4 mods that help me out here on the live. You guys see them all the time. We've got Gen X, Anvil, Leah, Leapin' Llamas, and Pam just joined the mod squad. So, great group of friends that really help me out. Okay, now we have to chain 2. We're going to finish this little petal, and I'm going to join with a slip stitch into the very next stitch here. Okay, slip stitch. You want that to be very nice and tight to your work. Sometimes I'll do this slip stitch right in the same as the petal. It's entirely up to you. I do it both ways. It really just is whatever you prefer. Then I'm going to do another slip stitch and I'm going to move myself over just a smidge. Okay, we want to work around this magic ring. We're going to do a total of 5 petals. So here is petal number 2. Chain 2. Right into this same space, we're going to do 3 double crochets. The double crochets act as the center of our petals. The chain is what makes the really nice little finished edge. So this is the chain. Now we need a chain 2. That will allow us to finish off the petal. I'm going to move to the next stitch and again slip stitch. Sarah, this yarn is the Tonal Hues yarn by Crystal at Bag a Day Crochet. She partnered with Mary Maxim, but it's called Tonal Hues. The colorway I'm using is the purple. I've kind of deconstructed that skein, but this is what the label looks like. There are links on the link tree, guys, if you're looking for this yarn. It is a beautiful yarn. It would be fabulous for like a hexagon cardigan, any type of wearable, a lap blanket. It is really, really pretty. Slip stitch to the next stitch, chain 2. Right into the same space, we need 3 double crochets. Chain 2, move to the next stitch, again, single crochet. Not single, sorry, slip stitch. Chain 2, we're going to start our next petal, and right down into that same stitch, 3 double crochets. Here's number 2 and number 3. Chain 2, move to the next stitch, slip stitch, move to the next stitch, slip stitch. Again, just working our way over a little bit. Chain 2. Right down into that same stitch, we need 3 double crochets. Thank you so much for the gifts this morning. I didn't see who sent that. Thank you so much for finishing out that goal. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be hopping off the live here soon, guys, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this little flower. We'll do the back. Santa Jen is in the house. Thank you, Santa Jen. Appreciate that. Now we're going to join with a slip stitch, and that will complete our little top part of our flower. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to add a second row of petals, like you can see here. We're going to do it in the lighter color, but I'm first going to make a structure. 50,000! Y'all, thank you so much for all the screen taps. Appreciate that. What a great week this week has been. So you can see this next grouping of petals, I'm working into a little chain space for each of these petals. So we have to set this up, and we're going to do that by working on the back of the flower. This is the front. I'm going to turn my work, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch to the back of this petal. So this is the first petal. I'm just going to put my hook under a few of these stitches, like 2 of them. I have to use my thumb to get them under there. I'm not going all the way through, okay? I'm not touching the front, just through the back. I'm going to do a slip stitch. I'm going to try to do a slip stitch anyway. This gets a little tight. You have to be patient with this. Slip stitch. Okay. Now I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to skip all the way over here to the next petal, and right here in the very bottom, again, I'm going to slip stitch under these stitches. Okay, so I just kind of put some under there, my hook under, grab up a loop, pull it through, again, slip stitch, chain 2. You want these chain spaces to be very low to your work. Okay, you don't want them big looped out. That doesn't work. It's kind of tight and small to work with. You just have to really be patient as you're doing this. Again, move to the next petal through the back. I kind of wiggle my hook in and out there and try to get it through. Under a couple stitches, again, slip stitch. Chain 2, move to the next. We're going to do a total of 5 of these little chain areas, okay? Slide under, again, slip stitch, chain 2. This is the last little petal right here. I'm probably missing like 500,000 comments, guys. I have to look at this when I'm doing it. Again, slip stitch. This is right where we started, right here. I'm going to chain 2 and join right into that first chain space with another slip stitch, okay? I'm going to close my magic ring up. Make sure that's nice and closed. Normally, friends, weave in this tail before you start getting very much through this project, okay? Weave in your tail. Don't do what I'm doing. Now, instinctively, you're going to want to start working from the back. This is very important. Do not work from the back. You need to turn your work back over. Find the first chain space. You have to fold these little petals down. Find your chain space, and you're going to slip stitch into the chain space. Okay, we're going to work the next set of petals into these chains we just made. Now we're going to chain 3. The second set of petals is going to be taller. Chain 3. Now we need 3 treble crochets. Wrap my yarn around twice, right into that chain space, complete your treble crochet. Here's number 2 and number 3. Okay, kind of move those around. Now we need to finish this. We're going to chain 3. Right into that same chain space, you're going to do a slip stitch. Again, very low profile. Then I'm going to put the petals down here in front, move to the next chain space, and slip stitch. Get yourself set up ready for the next set of petals. Oh, change colors. Shoot. Thank you, Pam. If you're changing colors, this is the spot to change your color. I totally would have done that whole thing. It's a good thing you pinned that for me. I'm kind of a space cadet today. I'm ready for this week to be over, I guess. I don't know. My apologies. Thank you for catching me. Change colors here if you wish to change colors. I'm going to change. We're going to do this pretty purple. I'm going to start with a slip knot on my hook. Normally, if you were not changing colors, you would carry on just how I did there. See, I meant to show you that. Okay, I'm going to work over this tail. Into the chain space here, I'm going to do a slip stitch and get this yarn attached into that chain space. Okay, now I'm going to do my chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Lulu said I like it with the same color. I have some that are the same color and some I'm making variegated. We have all flavors. Here's one that's the same color. There'll be a bunch of these. I have more of these to make. more than I probably want to make. But the brand of this yarn, the green and purple, is Tonal Hues by Bag a Day, Raina. It's sold by Mary Maxim. There is a link in the link tree. Kimberly said, I'm ready for the week to be over, but I love watching your lives in the morning. Thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate you being here. Kimberly's here all the time. A lot of you guys are here every day with me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. You guys make my day. I'm not ready for the week to be over because of my lives. I'm ready for the week to be over because of work. You know what I mean? Because I have to go to work. But I do get my hair done today. So this is going to be a fun day. Okay. Into that chain space, 3 treble crochets. Okay. Chain 3, right back down into that chain space again, slip stitch. You can see I'm working my way over the tails as well. Okay. Into the chain space here, I move to the next one. Put your petals down, get them out of your way, just push them down in front and slip stitch to the next stitch here. Chain 3, right into the chain space, we need our 3 treble crochets. Um, Vicky said, we all appreciate the effort you put in to inspire us. Thank you, Vicky. I do try very hard to bring fun and exciting yarns and projects to the live. I do put a lot of thought and effort into it. And so I appreciate that comment a lot because I actually like plan out my whole week of what I'm going to be making. I make new events both on TikTok and on YouTube. I try very hard to not only to keep myself organized, but just to keep things kind of fresh and exciting. So I don't know what all we're going to be doing next week. I have to figure it out. I am going to finish this flower. I've got 3 more petals. So let me stop yapping here and finish this up. I don't want to leave it half done. That is annoying, but I got to get a shower. I get my hair done today, guys. I got to go get it colored. My roots are showing. That's what happens when you get to be old like me. I'm turning 50 this month. The big 50. I loved my 40s. I don't know about you guys. I loved being in my 40s. It was like I wasn't a kid anymore. I didn't make like silly mistakes. I mean, I still make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a perfect person by any means. But, like financially, I don't make as many mistakes. Like, you know, things like that. You know what I mean? Like I feel I'm at a great place in my life. And I'm kind of excited to be turning 50. I don't know. I mean, I always thought 50 seemed kind of old, but now that I'm going to be 50, I don't think it feels like that old. I'm not a young kid anymore, but um I do still feel kind of like a kid at heart. I'm sure you guys kind of notice that. I can be a little goofy. I don't think of myself as 50. I still think of myself in my 30s and kind of try to be a hip and cool person. So let's see. Vicky said, I have a hair appointment. I'm all natural though. I haven't highlighted my hair when I turn 50. So I asked my hair gal. I love my hair gal. She's just fun. My hair gal's like in her 20s and late 20s. Okay, she's very she's a cool girl, and her name is Carly Ann, and she's been doing her hair forever, and she does all the hair for prom and everything. She's always up on the trends, and so anyhow, I was talking to her and I said, do you think I should just go let it go all gray? And she's like, girl, no. She's like, not yet. She's like, "You're not," she goes, "I don't even think of you as being that old. I think of you as way younger. So, no, we're not gonna do the gray for your hair." I was like, "Let's do gray and make it easier," right? So, anyhow, I tried to go all gray, but Carly Ann shut me down. So, um, anyhow, I'm not all gray. She's like, "Definitely not." She's like, "What are you thinking?" I was ready. I was totally ready to be like a gray person. So I don't know. It makes it makes more work. I go every 6 to 8 weeks. I stretch mine out pretty long. I definitely don't. I don't go as often as I should, but I don't know. It's like I could buy yarn or I could buy hair dye. So I tend to do I don't like that. I need to go here. Sorry, I'm trying to finish this stitch. Um, I kind of space it out because it's kind of pricey. I think her rates are really reasonable. Getting your hair done in Alabama is a lot cheaper than getting your hair done in Arizona. I will tell you that. Victoria, have a great day at work. And I will catch you next week. I'm just putting the little chain space on the back of this, guys, and I'm done. I am done with this little flower. We'll have to flatten him out. Let's snip him off. Snip him off. Let's see how the two-tone turned out. I worked over some of these tails. Where are the tails I worked over? Because I'm going to snip them off. I think I worked over these. Well, I don't know which ones I worked over now. I've gotten myself confused. Oh, well, I'll figure that out later. Okay, so flatten your little petals out. Okay, you got to kind of get them back into the shape and get your little center petal back into shape also because he gets a little messed up. But there's our little flower. My center is not very tight. Let me pull it, the center a little tighter. Oops, that was the wrong tail. Better not be pulling on stuff. I don't know. Anyhow, there's our little flower. I kind of like the lighter ones better than the dark. The dark feels too dark, but they're cute. They'll be cute when they're all together, I think, right? My little bouquet. Okay, I'm stalling. What is the pattern name from yesterday's blanket? What did I do yesterday? What can you tell me what color it was? I'm sorry, I really honestly I don't even remember. I have so many projects going. Was it the rose colored one that I did yesterday? The modern granny, the watermelon blanket. I did the watermelon yesterday. Sorry, y'all, I have too much. This is the modern granny. You can find this on my YouTube, guys, if you want to make a modern granny blanket. Look on the live tab, okay? Wheeler 8 Acres. Look on the live tab, but this is the watermelon blanket. It's called I Dream in Pink. When you look for this video, look for I Dream in Pink. There's two parts. Part one is where we first started it. I Dream in Pink. Okay. Friends, I have to run. I got to go get my rear in the shower. Okay. I love you all. Thank you so much for a great week. Thank you for all of the gifts, all of the likes, all of the shares, all of the new subscribers. You guys never cease to amaze me. Thank you for being so supportive of me and everybody here on the chat. I appreciate you all. Love you to pieces. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week on Tuesday. Bye for now.